Grandpa, why does saving my first $10,000 feel almost impossible? Because grandson, when you're starting from zero, almost every dollar has to come from you. So once I reach $10,000, does saving actually get easier? Not exactly, but your money finally starts getting a chance to work alongside you. If you've ever tried to save your first serious amount of money, you know how frustrating it can feel. You get paid, the bills arrive, groceries cost more than expected, something breaks, and suddenly the money you plan to save is gone. You finally reach $1,000 and your car needs a repair. You get to $2,500 and an unexpected bill appears. You reach $5,000 and suddenly your brain starts telling you that you've already saved enough to buy something you've wanted for months. Meanwhile, you see people online talking about $50,000 portfolios, $100,000 savings accounts, or investments that supposedly make thousands of dollars while they sleep. It can make your own progress feel painfully small. But there's a reason the first $10,000 feels so difficult, and understanding that reason can completely change how you approach money. The first $10,000 isn't magical. Your bank account doesn't unlock a secret wealth mode when it reaches that number. But it represents a major transition, going from having almost no financial cushion to having enough money that your savings can start protecting you, giving you options, and eventually helping your money work alongside your income. Before we get into exactly why it matters, comment where you're watching from. Whether you're starting with $100 or you've already crossed $10,000, I'd love to know where you are in the journey. Now, imagine starting with exactly $0. If your goal is $10,000, you have to create $10,000 of financial progress. At this stage, there's almost no investment growth helping you. If you save $500 a month, it takes 20 months to reach $10,000. Save $250 a month, and it takes 40 months. Save $1,000 a month, and you can reach it in 10 months. The math is easy. The reality is not. Because saving $500 a month means finding $500 after rent, food, transportation, bills, debt payments, and everything else life throws at you. That's why the first $10,000 is partly an income problem and partly a spending problem. If you earn $3.500 a month and spend $3.400, you only have $100 of room. Cutting a few small subscriptions might help, but it won't transform the situation. If you can eventually earn $4.500 while keeping your essential spending near the same level, suddenly the gap becomes much larger. This is an important lesson. Wealth building isn't only about becoming extremely frugal. Sometimes the biggest financial move is increasing the amount of money available to save. And once you create that gap, the next challenge is keeping the money. Your first $1,000 is important because it can change how you handle unexpected expenses. Without savings, a $700 emergency might go on a credit card. Now the problem isn't just the $700 expense. You may also have interest and a new monthly payment. One unexpected event can start a chain reaction. With $1,000 set aside, the same expense can still be annoying, but it doesn't necessarily destroy your entire financial plan. That's what savings really buys you at the beginning: breathing room. It doesn't make emergencies disappear, it gives you a way to handle them without immediately borrowing. Grandson, so the first $1,000 is more about protection than wealth? Exactly. Before your money can make you wealthy, it can help keep one bad week from becoming a financial disaster. That distinction is incredibly important. Your first savings milestone is not about getting rich. It's about becoming harder to knock off course. Then you move toward $2, $500, and another problem appears: motivation. Saving the first few $100s feels exciting, but after months of repeating the same behavior, the progress can start feeling boring. You check your account and think, I've been doing this forever and I'm still not rich. But financial progress is often invisible before it becomes obvious. Your savings work the same way. You need to stop resetting yourself to zero. If you save $2,000 and then spend it every time something fun appears, you may spend years earning money without building a lasting financial base. One of the biggest changes you can make is learning how to keep money once you save it. This is where automatic transfers can help. Instead of waiting until the end of the month to see what's left, you decide in advance what amount will move into savings. Your paycheck arrives, and part of it immediately goes toward your goal. You're no longer asking yourself every weekend whether you feel like saving. You already made the decision. That matters because willpower is unreliable. If you see $500 sitting in your checking account, your brain may interpret it as money available to spend, If you know that $500 is already assigned to your emergency fund or investment account, it feels different. Give your money a job. Emergency fund is different from extra money. House deposit is different from shopping money. A clear purpose makes it easier to protect your progress. Another major obstacle is lifestyle inflation. Imagine you receive a $500 monthly raise. Instead of saving it, you upgrade your car, order more food, take more expensive trips, and start paying for subscriptions you didn't need before. Your income increased, but your financial margin barely changed. This can happen at almost any income level. The solution isn't to never enjoy a raise. You should enjoy some of it. But if every increase in income immediately becomes an increase in spending, your lifestyle can grow faster than your wealth. A better approach is to divide the increase. Maybe some goes toward investing, some toward savings, and some toward something you genuinely enjoy. You still improve your life, but you also improve your financial position. And that financial position becomes especially valuable around the $5,000 mark. At $5,000, you're halfway to the goal, but more importantly, you've built evidence that you can do this. You've created a system. You've survived months without spending everything you earn. You've probably learned which expenses actually matter and which ones were simply habits. You may have discovered that one large recurring expense matters more than 10 tiny purchases. Maybe housing is too expensive. Maybe the car payment is too high. Maybe eating out is consuming more money than you realized. This is why tracking your spending can be so useful, not because you need to obsess over every dollar, but because you need to see where your money is actually going. If you discover that a single recurring expense is costing you $400 every month, that matters far more than arguing over whether you should buy a $4 coffee. Now here's where the story gets interesting. Once you build a meaningful amount of savings, money starts giving you something that is difficult to buy in any other way. Options. Imagine two people with the same income and the same monthly expenses. One has $300 in savings, the other has $10,000. Both lose some income for a month. Both face an unexpected $1,000 expense. The event is identical, but their choices are completely different. The first person may need to borrow money immediately. The second person has a buffer. That buffer can reduce stress and prevent expensive decisions made under pressure. Money doesn't solve every problem, but it can give you time to make better decisions. It can help you say no to a terrible job opportunity. It can help you handle a repair without taking on high-interest debt. It can give you breathing room during a temporary income problem. Wait, Grandpa. So the first $10,000 is basically the stage where I'm doing most of the heavy lifting? Exactly. Later, your money can help carry some of the load. But first, you have to give it something to work with. That's why the first $10,000 may be some of the most important money you ever build. Not because it produces enormous returns immediately, but because it gets you to the point where your financial system has a foundation. And the habits you develop while reaching that milestone can be even more valuable than the money itself. You learn how to create a surplus. You learn how to automate savings. You learn how to delay purchases. You learn how to handle emergencies. You learn how to avoid constantly starting over. Those skills can scale. If you can consistently save $500 a month when you're earning $4,000, that behavior becomes incredibly powerful if your income eventually rises to $6,000 or $8,000. But this is where you need to be careful. Higher income doesn't automatically create wealth. If your spending rises at exactly the same speed, you can earn more without becoming financially stronger. Someone earning $50,000 and saving $5,000 has created a financial margin. Someone earning $150,000 and spending $150,000 has created almost none. Income matters, but the gap between income and spending matters too. A skill that raises your income by thousands of dollars a year can have a much larger effect than spending hours hunting for tiny discounts. But don't fall into the trap of believing you need to become miserable to save money. If your financial plan requires you to eliminate every enjoyable activity, you probably won't stick with it. You need a system that works in real life. The important thing is making sure your future is getting paid too. Another important lesson is that $10,000 is not a universal emergency fund target. For someone with low expenses, it might cover many months. For someone with high expenses or dependents, it may cover much less. The correct amount depends on your circumstances. The point of the milestone is not that everyone needs exactly $10,000. The point is that reaching a meaningful financial cushion can change how vulnerable you are to unexpected events. And if you have expensive debt, You may need to balance building savings with paying down that debt. You have to look at the entire picture. And if you're starting from zero, don't look at someone with $100,000 and decide you're hopelessly behind. You're looking at the middle of their journey and comparing it with the beginning of yours. You don't know how long it took them, what their income was, whether they received help, or what opportunities they had. Your only useful comparison is with your own previous financial position. If you had $300 last year and now you have $2,000, you made progress. If you went from $2,000 to $5,000, you made progress. The goal isn't to make one account look impressive. The goal is to become financially stronger. And that brings us to the psychological side of the first $10,000. Once you repeatedly prove that you can save money, your identity can start changing. You stop thinking I'm terrible with money. You start thinking I'm someone who can build a cushion. That change matters because your beliefs influence your behavior. You're still going to make mistakes. You'll overspend sometimes. You'll have months where you save less than expected. You may even have to use your emergency fund one day. That isn't failure. That's what the emergency fund is for. The important part is rebuilding it afterward instead of deciding that the entire plan is ruined. You don't need perfect months. You need a system that can survive imperfect months. If you're starting from zero, focus on the next milestone rather than staring at the entire $10,000. Get to $500, then $1,000, then $2, $500, then $5,000. Every milestone proves that the previous one was possible. And if you're already at $5,000, remember that you're halfway there. You don't need to climb the entire mountain today. You just need to keep moving. Grandson, so what's the biggest lesson? That the first dollars you save may feel the least powerful, but they teach you the habits that make the later dollars far more powerful. Exactly. Your first $10,000 is not the finish line. It's a foundation. It can protect you from emergencies, give you more choices, teach you financial discipline, and eventually provide a base for long-term investing. The first stage often feels like pushing a heavy object uphill. Later, once you have savings and investments working alongside your income, momentum can become much stronger. But you have to get the process started. And every large financial number began with a small one. Every $100,000 portfolio started somewhere. Every emergency fund started with a first dollar. Every debt-free balance started with a first payment. You don't need to become rich overnight. You need to stop starting over. If you're currently working toward your first $10,000, don't get discouraged because it feels slow. Slow progress is still progress. Focus on building a sustainable gap between income and spending, protecting your savings, increasing your earning ability, and investing appropriately once your foundation is strong. And remember, the goal isn't simply to have $10,000 sitting in an account. The goal is to become the kind of person who knows how to build, protect, and grow money. That skill can be worth far more than the first $10,000 itself. If this video helped you understand why the beginning feels so difficult, hit the like button, subscribe for more practical money lessons, and share it with someone trying to build their first serious savings cushion. Because your first $10,000 may be the hardest money you ever save, but it could also be the money that teaches you how to build everything that comes after it.